I am Francie Ekwerekwu, and
Coolest last name.
yeah, that's me. Hey, Brittany.
So, I'm fortunate to know a little bit of your background, but I know a lot of our young people may not. So, if you could please tell us where you're from, where you grew up.
I am from Arlington, Texas, and I grew up there. Really love my city. Agtown is what we call it. So shout out to Agtown. Shout out to all my people that still live there. I mean, everybody that kind of was a part of my childhood, teachers and coaches and friends and people who actually became family who were not blood related. So shout out to Agtown. I was raised with two brothers, one older, one younger, and my mom. And that's what I knew for the longest period of time based on a certain situation that my family was in that I just didn't know about. I remember growing up from birth through the age of 5, I was very much a daddy's girl. I just loved my dad, loved being right up next to him. My dad is Nigerian, and he is a very good cook. You talk about making Nigerian food, and anybody who knows about Nigerian food knows about fufu and okra soup and mai and just all the best traditional Nigerian food. And I would just sit right up underneath my dad, and we would just go to town eating Nigerian food together. And, he was bestie. And so Bestie and I didn't go anywhere without each other. But then all of a sudden, one day when I was 5, he was gone. And I didn't know where he went. I very vividly remember a day around that age when my mom was sitting out on the curb of our apartment complex, and she was just sobbing. And they were towing away one of our vehicles, and she was just crying and crying. And my dad was gone. That day was one of the days, I don't know if it was that particular day, but definitely one of the immediate days surrounding the time when my dad was arrested and imprisoned. Early in my childhood, I was 5 years old, and my father spent 23 years, 24 years in prison. And so starting for me at the age of 5, my older brother was 7, my younger brother was 3. And so my childhood in Arlington was good to my best knowledge. I just was too young to remember or know what was going on. But my mom is just so strong. She made it exactly what it needed to be for us. She made it a really good childhood as best as she could for all of us. And she did that with the help of our community. I mean, there were so many people that were chipping in to help us and to be, what people call your village. Whenever you say it takes a village to raise a child, like we literally had a village of people helping my mom, give us all the resources and the support we needed to be, kids who were having fun, but also athletes. We all 3 were in sports. And then students, we all 3 had to, make it through our schooling and stay focused so that we could even get into college and play collegiate sports the way we did. So we had a village, but not even everybody in our village knew about my dad or about his status. And my mom did that. My mom and dad, actually. My mom and dad chose to keep his incarceration a secret from us kids and a secret from our village by design, because they didn't want us kids to live with that stigma. And many children who have incarcerated parents live with that stigma, either
Guys, that's really amazing.
Yeah, either the kids saw their parents be arrested, or they've seen their parents come in and out of jail, and maybe, that fifth time they got arrested is when they actually went to prison, or, they may have been abused or used or manipulated by parents who were addicted to drugs or not aware of how their behavior is affecting the children prior to their imprisonment. So fortunately, the kind of the design of the way my father was arrested and imprisoned, my brothers and I had very minimal contact with the situation. However, we were in the dark about it. And so we all three found out when we were 16. And it was like just this world of what the heck hit us.
Mm-hmm.
And now we were carrying that burden, but we didn't carry that stigma and that burden while we were young. And some kids do, many kids do. So,
How does that affect a young person? So, like, how can that be, I guess, displayed? Because that's a traumatic experience. And so if we have coaches or other volunteers that may be watching this video, you don't have to dive too deep into that, but just curious, like how can that like present itself?
Disconnect, maybe. Anger, or maybe the opposite of disconnect, attachment. Maybe they're searching for that mentor, that extra attention, that longingness to have somebody who is there, who can support them or listen to them, somebody to tell about these deep feelings or questions, concerns that they have that, they may not trust people who are in the house, or they may not know. I think for the longest time, I didn't know how to ask my mom about it. It's not that I didn't trust her. I just didn't want to hurt her or bother her or burden her with questions because I didn't know how hurt she was about it. So I think coaches or mentors who are in those positions, just kind of being willing to be an open ear or to go one step further. If they say, oh yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm fine, coach. I'm fine. Well, tell me, volleyball player, tell me, football player, what does fine mean? Define fine. What are you feeling? When you say you're fine, what does that mean? When you go home, what does fine mean? Are you eating enough? Do you have somebody to talk to? Do you feel satisfied with your counselor at school? Do you feel satisfied with your therapist that you see outside of school? Whatever that means. And if your student athlete confides in you, you can't just have that one conversation and never follow up. So you need to be somebody that follows up, and don't pass the student athlete off to the next officer or the next teacher and hope or assume that that's it. And it's not enough to just pass them off to a counselor, because think about how overburdened counselors are. If that student athlete who has a parent who's incarcerated and trusted you, that's huge. And as much as I hate to say it, like, you've now become, as much as you may or may not want to be burdened by it, you're burdened by it. And now you're an entrusted person, and you've got to take that responsibility on and at least have the next few conversations with that child, to at least hear them out and help them carry that burden for a little while, because they're a child. That's such a huge burden to carry by yourself. So the amount of courage it took for them to even confide in you was great. And so it's a big injustice for you to not reciprocate the courage it takes to help them respond.
I'd,
Um,
I'd like
so,
to quickly add that you've actually been a PAL coach. And a huge thank you to all of our PAL coaches that may be watching, or partners who may be watching. Your sacrifice, and yours too, Francie, does not go unnoticed, and you may not always get the thank you that you deserve. But again, it's not unnoticed, and it's very much so valued by myself and everyone in our organization. So thank you for all that you do for our kids. We're going to go back to you, though, because
okay.
you're the star of the show. And so tell me about, was college on your roadmap? Was that something that you were planning to do, or is that what you had dreamed to do? Can you walk us through, like, from 16 and onward?
Yes. For many reasons, college was on my roadmap. I think we all knew, my brothers and I, regardless, I mean, prior to us knowing about my father's incarceration, we knew that our only way to sort of break the cycle of poverty that we were living in with my single mother was to go to college, get an education, and sort of make a way for ourselves. And so that was always on the list. Like I said, in addition, our village, our coaches, our teachers, our people that were looking out for us, they weren't going to not let us go to college, apply for college, things like that. It was everybody's combined goal to see us go to college. And then my dad, like I said, is Nigerian, and education is one of the paramount pillars of the Nigerian culture. It's almost next to religion. Like, education's very high, and so it's kind of a joke for Nigerians. Either you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. I mean, you pick one of the three. You don't get to really do anything else. And so my dad had been talking to us about being some sort of high level of career from a young age. I didn't know where my dad was until I was 16, but I had contact with him prior to 16. I want to make that clear. I had been receiving letters from my dad from an early age. And so from the time I was 5, 6, 7, 8, he had been talking to me about being a doctor. So I wasn't really thrilled about med school. I'm not the greatest mathematician, and science wasn't the most interesting to me, but I knew I was going to go to college. I knew I was going to make my parents proud. And when I started visiting my dad at the age of 16, we started talking about collegiate level schooling and what that was going to look like for me. So I was playing sports. I knew that my mom wasn't going to be able to afford college for all three of us. I knew that I had a decent shot at getting a college scholarship through athletics. And I knew that I had to give it everything to try to accomplish that. So playing 3 sports at the time in high school, I was just trying to balance, which one, play my cards right, which one is it going to be, which one's going to give me the best outcome long term, which one am I going to get a full ride scholarship versus partial scholarship, which one can I stay closer to home, that type thing. I started thinking about all that as a freshman.
Just say that's a big thing. Those are some big decisions for a young person to have to consider.
Yes. And I had some key people who recognized that, because, I had teammates who, it didn't matter where they went, they could choose wherever they wanted to go all across the country. And if they didn't get a full ride scholarship, their parents were going to be able to pay for it anyway, and they were going to go to that school anyway. And their parents could fly to see their games every 2 times a week and pay for the flights 2 times a week. But I knew that I needed a full scholarship. I knew I needed to be somewhat close to my mom so she could drive to come see me maybe once a week. if that. So I had a lot to weigh in into where I was going to go. And so, yeah, you're right. And I started thinking about it early. My older brother had already chosen to go to the University of Missouri. He was playing football, and that was a 10-hour drive for us. And I saw how strenuous that was on my mom. And I saw how many times we didn't get to go to his games and how hard that was on my older brother. And so I chose to go somewhere a tiny bit closer so that my mom and I are very close, and I knew that I was going to need her more than my older brother needed her. And so process of elimination, I took actually OU, it wasn't that it was last on my list. I just hadn't gotten around to visiting Norman out of all the places that I needed to visit. But I squeezed in a last minute visit to OU, and I really liked Norman, but I fell in love with the team, with the girls that I had been set up to host me on my visit when I was in Norman.
Volleyball or what sport? Yeah.
And I really liked it, and got to meet some of the athletes from the other sports, and, you know, a quick 3-hour drive from Arlington. And I was like, this will be perfect. My mom can do this easily. And that's the way I chose it.
That's awesome. And your family's just set up for greatness. What school did your little brother go to?
My younger brother I'll never admit this to him, but he might be a little smarter than my older brother and myself. He ended up getting academic scholarships to Baylor. So he really didn't even have to play sports, and he ended up going on academic near about full ride to Baylor.
That is incredible.
And then he went and got his MBA at Arkansas, and he works for HP now. He's some high level. I can't even tell you what his job is because it's really over my head, but he travels a lot. Like, he's taken me to Peru and Barcelona, and so he has one of those jobs. And
awesome.
Yeah, that's my little brother. He's our business guru. I'm the lawyer. My older brother is a doctor.
I think you guys did pretty well.
Yeah.
You're not an engineer, but I feel like you did pretty well.
Yeah, my dad's very, very happy.
I think that your story is one that our young people can so relate to, and I think should take note of how sport can do so much for you, right? It not only teaches you, like indirectly teaches you so many life skills, but also can certainly be used as a tool to get you to open other doors for you. So that allowed you to have a really awesome, OU is a big school. So what was it like to be there? What was it like to be a Black female there? What was your experience like going to OU?
Wow. You're right. I think it was really grand. I felt like stepping on campus, I felt immediately almost like you pinch yourself, like, oh my gosh, I'm at OU, like me, like, am I even worthy of this? My first year was Adrian Peterson's last year. Like,
yeah,
I go to the same school as Adrian Peterson. I was just kind of starstruck for a little bit, and then two-a-days hit. And I'm like, you got to get over the starstruck. You need to get in here and get to business, because this is OU. You're either gonna stay, or you can be easily replaced. Like, they got more scholarships where this comes from. You can be replaced easily. So once I started accepting that I was good enough, I was worthy enough to be there, I kind of took that attack mode on, like, no, this is my school, this is where I belong. And I started taking ownership in my identity as a student athlete, and started, you know, embracing the student athlete responsibilities, you know, time management and getting a study hall and eating correctly, you know, nutrition and health, um, your studies and all that good stuff. But as time went on, then I recognized, like, now I have a civic responsibility. There's other little girls out here that are looking up to me. Not any little girls, but like you mentioned, there's little Black girls out here that have never even seen volleyball. They don't even they don't have volleyball at their school, or they've never touched a volleyball, they've never played, they've never seen a Black volleyball player. And you know, they certainly don't have enough money to go to OU volleyball camp, or even OU volleyball game. And so once I recognized there were girls like that in Norman, I was floored, and then I recognized that's why I'm here. And I started seeking out opportunities to be involved in my community in Norman. And then eventually got introduced to opportunities that were outside of Norman in Oklahoma City, and then recognized, you know, the issues at large in the state of Oklahoma, and was really kind of in awe at the situation statewide concerning, you know, the lack of diversity in volleyball, the lack of support for the sport of volleyball in Oklahoma. And so I had that on my front burner, and while I was at OU, and I was kind of mad at myself because I lost sight of that when I went to law school. And you know, I kind of ran away from volleyball gladly because I was so over volleyball when I left Norman. I was burned out, just admittedly. I was burned out and needed a break. And then law school, if you can imagine, it takes over everything. It just takes over everything in your life. But when I returned to Oklahoma and ran across Peter from PAL in Leadership Oklahoma City, and he asked me to be a coach, and I thought, coach volleyball? No, I'm done with volleyball. You know, I had this attitude about me. And then when he called me up one day again, begging me, and he said, no, you don't understand. I have one team left. They don't have a coach. These are girls from the east side of Oklahoma City, and they've never played before. And as soon as he said east side of Oklahoma City, I immediately knew what demographic that was. And I knew these are those young Black girls who have never seen volleyball, have never played, don't have enough money to do anything concerning, you know, high level sports.
Yeah.
And, I said, you know what, Peter, put me down. I'll be right there when it's practice. You know, and then I was like, who am I? How do I have the nerve to be telling Peter no when growing up in Arlington, so many people told me yes. So many people went out of their way to help me and to tell me, yes, you can be on our team, and yes, we'll pay for it, and we'll buy your knee pads, and we'll take you to practice, and, you know, buy your flights to wherever you're going to play volleyball. So PAL kind of humbled me and made me remember what I saw as an OU athlete whenever I was, you know, expanding myself in Norman and recognizing that so many young Black girls really needed to know more about volleyball, more about sport, and how it can propel you into college.
I mean, I am so fortunate. I didn't know all those things about you, so I feel really honored to have that insight into the things that have made you the woman that you are today. And I couldn't have said it any better, really. I certainly didn't have the same situation as you, but I was not going to go to college. My family we didn't have a lot of money, and I used basketball as an avenue to get free school and eventually get to travel to the other side of the world. So I know that I totally on the same page as you of what sport can do for you. And also that same experience where, if you've been graced with, and it doesn't even have to be sport. I think if you've been given or blessed with skills, then it is almost like you said, your duty to pay that forward, to share those skills, to help empower a young person. I mean, it's amazing to change one life, but when you change one life, you change every generation after that. So it's really, really powerful. We're so lucky that we have you on our family and team. But I also wanted to ask you about like law school and what that was like. Where did you go to law school? You said you came back to Oklahoma, so it wasn't here.
Yes. I had always dreamed of, when I decided I wanted to go to law school, I dreamed of like a big city experience. And so I went to Chicago.
Wow.
I had applied to a lot of different places all across the United States. And when I finally accepted, I went to law school in Chicago, downtown, and lived in downtown high-rise apartments my whole time that I was there.
Wow.
So I got that big city experience I was looking for, and I just loved it the whole time. It was the hardest time of my life. It was harder than two-a-days, believe it or not. It was harder than any, I have a son, and I say the two hardest things in life thus far have been childbirth and law school. It was that hard. So, I thought I had been through so much playing college sports, but no, it was an amazing experience that really changed my life. It made me a completely different person. It taught me a lot about people, about diversity, about acceptance, about our laws and the way our laws affect every little part of our life. And it just gave me a whole new perspective on myself and what my calling and what my duty really is in this life.
What do you
Which is, I kind of had a little path going in. I thought I would be, I really liked the drama and the kind of the pettiness of family law, divorces and kind of the typical TV drama you'll see surrounding divorce and stuff like that. But I went in, and through a series of internships, I ended up with an internship serving mothers in Illinois who were incarcerated. So I traveled the whole state helping incarcerated mothers with their family law issues. And that was just my favorite internship experience ever. And that's when I knew I was called to help people, but especially parents affected by incarceration, because in effect, when I help the parents who are incarcerated, I'm helping their children. And like you said, breaking generational cycles. And so when I knew I was moving back to Oklahoma, I sought out how I could do that here. And so that's how I landed at my current position here in the city. But that law school helped me realize that. I did internships with juvenile law, and I was even working with domestic violence clinics and stuff, which is still kind of connected, but ultimately I've landed on kind of a criminal justice reform as it relates to people who are incarcerated and how it affects their families. And I know that that's where I will be. If I'm not working in it directly, I'll always be volunteering with it or something to that effect. And I know that's what God has called me to do.
I think that there's some really great organizations actually in our backyard, like Remerge, that does a lot of really excellent reform work. I volunteer with them. I'm really passionate about that too.
Oh, good.
But,
at your collegiate level, if you can get to college, there's so much more that's being offered in colleges now, which is so encouraging to me. I actually get to teach a class now at OU.
wow.
I'm teaching, I'm adjunct teaching a class that teaches just that at OU. How does law affect human relations? And I enjoy that so much. It's so encouraging to open the eyes of college level students, and they go, wow, really? Because it's literally in your everyday life, and people don't realize that. I'm a big advocate for going to law school. If one is interested in going to law school, I highly suggest it, but be passionate about it, be prepared for it, do your research and talk to mentors, and don't be afraid of money, don't be afraid of loans and all that type of stuff. Just talk to the right people and get ready for it, and then go do what you need to do to follow your dreams.
Is there anything else before we let you get back to work? Is there anything else that you'd like to share, or some words of encouragement for anyone watching this video?
I'll say this, I think there's a lot more people in Oklahoma City that can be PAL coaches. You don't have to be a former collegiate athlete. You just need to be passionate about helping kids and mentoring them, and be willing to have a little fun, and probably know a little bit about the sport that you're getting into. But PAL needs you to step up and coach. All you have to do is just show up and be willing to, like I said, have fun and kind of be a listening ear to guide them along the way. So that's one thing I've noticed being a PAL coach, is that we need more PAL coaches. And I see that people like you, Brittany, are out there working so hard in the community to recruit coaches and to keep them engaged. And it just shouldn't be that hard, because if we say we are one OKC and we're united and we care about our children and our next generation, it just shouldn't be that hard. That's because I honestly believe in it too. I believe that, this is such a really good program, and you guys deserve the help, and I'm here for it. I'm ready for the next season, and I'm coming for all you other volleyball coaches.
Hey!
So y'all better be ready, because we're coming. Whichever school I'm at, Eastside, Moon, Parks, whichever school I'm at, we're coming for y'all.
I love that. Thank you so much for saying that. And just like you said, it takes a village. It really does. And I just really appreciate your kind words. And we certainly do. If you want to coach, please reach out. We'd gladly have a conversation with you. Like you said, you don't have to be this incredible sports person and with all these accolades. It's not about that. It's about being positive, about consistently showing up and being that listening ear for a young person who probably needs it more than they'll be able to actually say to you. But thank you so much for your time today. It's been awesome having a little bit of insight into who you are, and I can't wait to see you next year on the volleyball court.
I'll be there. Thank you, Brittany.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.